So it is that time of year where we're going back to school.
Yep.
The kids are out of the house, going back to school where they spend more hours of the day than they are at home now. And we can't always be watching them, and they're playing sports again.
That's right.
So lots of different things can happen.
Sure thing, absolutely. Lots of accidents in my office. Lots of the files in my office have accidents that happened while kids were going to school, coming home from school, or at school.
Right.
So it's something to think about.
Okay, so what are some of the different things or areas where we can start looking at, possibly making a claim? So if, say in the schoolyard in general, if what isn't done?
Okay, well, the school boards have an obligation, and it's actually an obligation that rests on the shoulders of the principal of the school to keep the school facility safe. And so if something happens and the school was negligent, for example, if there was a defective play structure or some other unsafe situation that a reasonable school principal would have noticed, then that's something where there may be a claim.
Like if a pathway is cracked or part of the cement is falling off or it's not properly maintained.
That's right.
That poses a safety hazard.
That's right, and maybe they'll put a pylon on it until they can fix it, because everything can't be done instantly, but they have to maintain safety and warn of any hazards.
But not when we're talking about children who are on a playground and not using it the way it was intended, walking on top of the monkey bars, playing tag on the play structure. What if they get injured doing things like that? Well,
it's an interesting thing, because we've talked about this on prior segments. You can actually have a claim if no one was negligent, right? So the claim follows negligence on somebody's part. Maybe in the cases you're talking about, maybe there's negligent supervision. Right?
Okay.
The teachers, if it's during school hours, the teachers or the yard supervisors can't allow that.
Right.
So you just never know. You always have to look at the specific facts to see, okay, is this a situation where there's negligence? And if so, is there an injury? And if so, you want to make a claim.
Right. And if something happens in that moment, I'm guessing, as parents, obviously you always want to be proactive, but also letting kids know that if anything happens or they're injured during the day when you're not with them, they should report it to someone.
Well, that's right, and that's a really good point, because often I've had parents who have complained that one of the things that gets them most frustrated is, their child came home that day upset. They take them to the hospital and they've got a broken hand, and they've suffered through the school day with a broken hand.
And didn't really tell anyone.
Yeah, or, the teacher sort of has 30 other kids and says, well, here's some ice.
Right.
So that, no, absolutely, reporting injuries to your teachers and also your parents is very important.
Yeah. Now, what about, taking it upon yourself to, go take photographs or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's been an accident and you're worried that the situation's going to change, like they're going to quickly repair something, it is a good idea to take pictures of whatever you can. I had a case a while back with a broken gate latch that bounced and hit a kid in the face. That would be something that you'd want to get a photo of right away, because presumably once the accident happens, it's going to get fixed.
Right. Okay, now what about things like sports? So after school sports, they're playing on the football team or on the basketball team, and they get injured in that arena.
Well, sports is tricky. I mean, it's tricky in a school context and out of the school context, because again, there's the concept of negligence, right?
Right.
I mean, some of these sports are inherently dangerous to at least a certain extent.
You're taking some risk upon yourself.
Well, that's it.
Them, yeah.
And parents should know that before their kids, play hockey or football or soccer. Things can happen. Again, it comes down to, is there proper supervision? Is the field safe? If there's a big pothole in the middle of a soccer field that's concealed, maybe that's an area to look at.
Yeah. Now, it gets a little bit tricky when we're talking about maybe medical conditions that students might have going to school, if they have a medical alert bracelet or, a certain health condition or allergy. How does that play in?
Well, that's a tricky one, because the law isn't all that developed. The parents or teachers are supposed to act like reasonable parents. They're supposed to act like in the stead of the parents. So as long as they take reasonable steps, I don't believe they'd be held negligent if something went wrong.
Right.
But obviously you have to get medical attention quickly if something goes wrong.
Right.